There we go. Yeehaw. Woo! That's good beer. All right, we are back. Just kind of randomly decided to do this. Obviously, meant to do this a while ago. And just haven't found the time to do it. It's been busy. But we're back. We're going to shoot a quick pod here. Don't know where it's going to go. I got a few things to talk about, and we'll see from there. First thing we'll talk about today is our sponsor, Anyone Field Spray. Jake and Ashley Wallingford. They got the best field spray on the market. If you're, we're at that time of year now where people are starting to gear up a little bit, getting stuff ready for the season. We still got, about a month till people really, really get after it. Today's July 15th. So I'd say we got, 2-3 weeks when people are really starting to gear up. But if you're going to go get a field spray, go buy Anywind field spray. Don't buy anything else. It's a waste of your time. Go to Anywind, huntannywind.com and grab some field spray. They do have it. They're going to be carrying it in the Shields Omaha again here. And it's the best spray on the market. I promise you. There's a lot of people that are using it now, and they have a lot of testimonials about it. So don't waste your time with all the other garbage out there. Go get something that actually works. So go get Anywind field spray. I think they have a discount going right now. I think he just posted. If you follow him on Instagram, there's a 10% off code. So go check that out. Go get your field spray for the season. I promise you, you won't regret using Anywind field spray. It's by far the best stuff out there. So go get it. All right. First thing we're going to talk about today, I drew an elk tag in Nebraska. It is not a bull elk. It is a cow elk tag. Obviously, would love to draw a bull elk tag. It's a really hard thing to draw in Nebraska. It takes a lot of years most of the time. Very rare that you get one early on. I've got friends that have been putting in for a long time, still haven't drawn one. But cow elk tag, you can get, you'll get usually, I think for the most part, a lot of people say like every kind of 5 to 7 years, you got a chance to get one. This is, I think, my third year putting in for it, and I got it. So pretty pumped for that. I got the late antlerless tag, and I kind of screwed up on that a little bit. When I looked at the dates, I didn't really look super close. I saw that the first season went from like September 1 or whatever it is to October 15th. And I kind of assumed the second season started October 16th for some stupid reason. I don't know why. I just wasn't paying attention, and then went for however long. In my job that I work, about October 15th is basically kind of around the end of our season. So I was thinking, okay, well, season will end, and then I'll, go kill an elk. Well, the late season tag doesn't start till November 1st. So I got to wait till November 1st, which is definitely far kind of after the end of the rut for elk. So I'm still confident that I'll get one. I already talked to the one outfitter that I already planned on going through. And when I went with Jake last time, when he drew a cow elk tag, we killed one pretty easily, but I was obviously in October. So, but this guy knows what he's doing. Very experienced outfitter. So I'm not worried about it. I'm planning on just using a rifle. I'm not going to try and kill it with a bow. I'd love to kill with a bow, but just from the experience of last time, it's really hard to get close to a cow elk when they're all herded up like that. So just going to go kill with a rifle. I really just want to get one, get the meat. I'm super pumped for that. So very excited to draw that tag. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to do that. I'll be up in far northwest Nebraska, essentially, which is where the elk are really. You got to go for the most part. I mean, there's a couple areas out west, central and north, and maybe even a little south, but northwest is your best bet. So I put in for the unit that I knew I had 2 outfitters out there I could talk to. So that's what I did. Got the tag. Pretty pumped for that. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. Trying to decide whether I'm going to take any of my kids or not. Might be more hassle than it's worth. I don't know. I'll figure that out when I get a little closer and talk to the outfitter. I think they're going to probably go up with me. My wife and kids, I think, are going to go with, and stay at the hotel for sure. Hang out. There's a really nice hotel up there, and with a pool and stuff, and we'll go hang out and have fun, and hopefully I can go kill one pretty easily. We'll see. With the rifle, you don't have to get that close. Like I'm pretty confident I can kill one at 200 yards pretty easily. I've shot deer at farther than that, so not that I'm trying to brag or anything like that with my Sitka hat. I just got this brand new Sitka hat, so I'm a freaking badass. But yeah, no, yeah, I kind of feel like a douche wearing this brand new hat, but is what it is. They make cool stuff. I like their stuff. But yeah, pretty pumped for that. It's gonna be fun. Go kill a cow elk, hopefully. And yeah, that's the first thing I've really drawn besides deer, or first thing I've tried to kill besides deer, really besides like just birds and stuff. So it's gonna be fun. Excited for that. I did draw. So there's a couple things I guess to talk about here. I drew the MDCA tag, which is the mule deer conservation area, because the area that we hunt for whitetail and mule deer out southwestern Nebraska, it is an MDCA unit, so you have to draw a tag to get a mule deer tag. Now, if you're a resident in Nebraska, you can get a statewide archery tag, and you can still kill mule deer anywhere. But I try and get this one mule deer conservation area tag because it's a season's choice tag. So it's good for bow, rifle, and muzzleloader. So that's why I always tried to get it, especially because I now I'm at the point where I take my kids out for rifle, which is a blast. It's my favorite thing to do. So I always like to have that option of, if I have the chance to kill one with a bow before rifle, find a nice mule deer and kill it, then I'll do that. But otherwise, if I'm out for rifle and all of a sudden this great mule deer walks in front of me, if I don't have that mule deer tag, then I'm like, oh crap. So that's why I put in for that. I did happen to draw that this year too, which is cool. This is my second year in a row getting it. Well, so last year I did not draw the tag. I was unsuccessful, but then somebody obviously had drawn it and then didn't pay for their tag, because you have to pay for your tag by a certain date. Otherwise it goes back into a redraw. And so it had gone last year, some tag obviously had not been paid for, and maybe there's multiple, I don't know. And so Game and Parks called me and said, hey, there was a redraw and you won the tag. So I was like, sweet, bought it, perfect. This year, obviously, I drew the tag on the first draw. So it was exciting. My dad and my other buddy did not draw the tag. They both were unsuccessful, which is a bummer. My odds of winning next year probably are going to be lower again, which is fine. But yeah, so it's a season choice, which is cool. And I can use any weapon, obviously, during the certain seasons. But so I got that tag. I got my elk tag. I did start putting in for antelope for rifle, and did not draw that, obviously. That usually in Nebraska, from what I've heard, takes about 5 to 7 years to draw the rifle tag. And I was like, you know what, I might as well just start putting in for it. Like, I would rather kill one with a bow, but obviously it's very difficult to kill an antelope with a bow, especially in Nebraska. It's very difficult. So we have, there's an outfitter that we've used out there, and for bow, we've only gone bow out there a couple times, and it's tough, but we've gotten plenty close enough to kill them with a rifle. So it's like, well, if I can get a rifle tag at some point, it'd be pretty dang easy to go kill an antelope out there. So started putting in for that. Didn't draw. That's fine. Didn't expect to draw. But yeah, so I got the mule deer tag in my area for the season's choice. I will buy another bow tag just so I have a statewide one for if I'm hunting somewhere not around, around there, if I'm hunting somewhere closer to home here. But we'll see. So I have options, which is exciting. I don't usually, I haven't killed a lot recently, but I did kill the one buck last year with the kids. That was fun. Small buck, but you know what? It was just kind of something to get one killed. Another thing, I sold my Matthews verdicts to my buddy. He reached out to me the other day. He's like, hey, you still got that? I was like, yeah. He's like, I want to buy it. I was like, cool, perfect. So got that sold to him. Ended up, it needed new strings and cables. So I ended up just being like, hey, I'll pay for the strings and cables. like we'll get it set up and everything. I didn't know they were that bad. When we took it in, all of a sudden, like the servings on like the, where the stops hit, were unraveling, which I did not ever notice that before, which was weird. But so we'll get that set up for them. I'm shooting the new Matthews Arc 34 this year, which I talked about, I think, in the last podcast. Pretty excited for that. I am getting a new sight. Since I sold them this bow, I ended up just selling them the whole setup with the sight and the stabilizers and everything. The Spot Hog Spot Hog XL double pin is what I had on there. I had put that on the Arc for now, but I was like, well, I really would like to get a bridge lock sight for it because it's just going to be lighter and more compact. So I'm just going to use the money from selling the bow to get a new sight. I think I'm going to get the new, well, I don't know if it's new, but I mean the axle, I think it's an axle, is that what it's called? I think axle driver, I think it is. Axle driver, I think. I'm going to do a 3-pin horizontal. So I was using the double pin. It was the vertical double pin, which was fine, but I don't know. I just feel like having the horizontal pins, I think I feel like I like that a little bit better. And going back to a 3-pin where I can go like 20, 30, 40 and then be able to dial after that. I just feel like that's going to be a little bit better setup for most of the hunting I do. So that's kind of what I'm planning on doing. Excited to get that set up here soon. Once the new strings and cables come in, we're going to get his bow all set up, and then I'm going to get my sight and get it all set up at the same time. So pretty excited for that. Ready to start shooting a lot. I haven't really shot much recently because life's been busy. It's been freaking hot and humid here in Nebraska, like usual. But it's been good. All the kids' sports are over for the summer, which is nice. So I finally wound down. We've been just enjoying. We put out an above ground pool out this year out on the patio, and it's been really nice to get in that, and been golfing a lot, doing that, which has been fun. Feel like golf game's doing pretty good right now. Could be a little better, but I'm still shooting well. So excited about that. About to go on vacation this next week up to Minnesota. Family has a cabin up there, so going to be up there for 8 days and pretty pumped for that. Yeah, there was a couple other things I was going to mention that came up over the past. However, it's been, I don't know. It happened, I think, mostly in early June, maybe May. I don't remember. I noticed Michigan went to a $1 state in the lower peninsula. So I think upper peninsula is still $2 state, but Michigan went to $1 in the lower peninsula, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly, which I thought was interesting. I'm sure I haven't looked into all the details and reasons why, but I'm sure they have probably a population issue that they're struggling with. Nebraska was actually talking about that. They had a meeting, I think it was on June 12th, to talk about potentially going to $1 state. I never heard about the meeting, like what happened there. But from what I saw was that they just shelved the idea and said, we're not doing that and probably never doing that, which I thought was interesting because the main purpose for that meeting was to talk about going to $1 state, because there was a lot of talk about it and a lot of things that leading up to it that it kind of seemed like they were really considering it. But it apparently got shelved and pushed aside and decided not to do it. So, I would have been all for it personally, just because I think our age structure of bucks is really bad in Nebraska right now. And that was part of the reason that they were talking about doing it, was because the age structure was bad. So I'd be kind of curious, I guess, to know what the reason to not do it was. I probably should have looked into that a little bit more before I did this, but I just never really heard. A lot of times I see the articles and stuff like that and kind of see what they mentioned, but I haven't seen much about it. I just heard that the idea just kind of got pushed aside, and they're just like, yeah, we're just moving on. So we are not going to a $1 state in Nebraska, which I think is a shame, unfortunately. And everybody's always they go off the data and stuff, which I understand. Like, they show the data of like how many people actually shoot $2. But if you look at the data of like other states that have done it and how it's restructured their age structure of their bucks, it's made a big difference. Indiana's a prime example of that. They did it a long time ago, and it really changed their age structure a lot and their population. And I mean, that's not the only reason that is going to change the population and the age structure in Nebraska, but I think it would have been a good step because it's something that we haven't done. They've tried doing some other things that I don't really feel like has made a difference at all. And they finally did come out and say that like our population is like half of what it was like 5 years ago, which is really bad. Like it's really low. And I feel like they probably needed to do something a little bit more drastic to make a difference. I think we're going to have another season this year where people are going to be complaining they're not going to be seeing deer. And I'm not saying the one buck state would have gone into effect next year is what it would have done, which is fine. Like I understand because it's later in the season or, in the summer, like to just all of a sudden do it now would have been kind of very harsh, I guess. But yeah, so we're not doing that. But I still think that we're going to struggle here in Nebraska. I don't think population is going to get any better this year. I think there's multiple factors with that. Obviously, you got a lot of predators, which I think are making a big difference. I found it funny. I saw one of them, the Game and Parks people said that the mountain lions don't make like any impact on our deer population, which I thought was just absolutely ridiculous. Like that's the stupidest thing that you could have said. Personally, because there's way more mountain lions in Nebraska than they're always ever leading on. And they'll always tell you, oh no, this is the numbers and stuff, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe them personally. I think just by hunting up in the north, like north, central, northwest last year, where I used to hunt forever. I mean, I hunted there a long time. We used to see a good amount of deer. And me and my buddy, we went all over the place up there. And we went to a lot of spots that were along either the river or some really big creeks that are up there and like very like, cougar type areas and lots of thick timber and stuff like that. And we didn't see any deer. And I'm telling you, I just feel like there's no way that there shouldn't be deer on these properties. Like they're really nice, like really great deer habitat. And the fact that there's no deer on them that just doesn't make sense to me. Like we weren't even bumping deer. I'm not saying like we're sitting there and just, seeing them off in the distance or like when we're walking around, like, we should have been bumping something, seeing something. So I don't believe them saying that they think mountain lions have a very low impact on deer population. I think that's just absolute bullshit personally. I could be wrong, but and people could have different opinions, but I just think it's a stupid thing to say. I think they have a bigger impact than everybody thinks. Obviously, coyotes are an issue. We have a lot of coyotes in Nebraska, and obviously kill a lot of fawns, so that makes a big impact. Lack of habitat, and that's I would never say that Nebraska's had the most habitat. Obviously, along rivers is going to be really good. We don't have a lot of other really nice timber besides like mostly on the rivers. But also, anymore, every time I'm driving around places, I just see, farmers ripping out more habitat so they can plant more, which is fine. It's their land, whatever. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I just constantly am seeing, areas I'm like, oh, that was probably a place that held deer and it's gone. Just gets ripped out. Happened to obviously two areas on some properties that we hunted that held deer. They were great little bedding areas. And they got new farmers that bought it completely ripped it all out. So changed the area that we hunt drastically. So that's a big impact on it. No, I just don't see the deer population bouncing back in Nebraska personally. Beside, obviously there's disease that goes around every year. You got coyotes, you got mountain lions, and the lack of habitat and the loss of habitat is just, I don't see it bouncing back personally. It's getting pretty rough, and I don't think it's getting any better anytime soon unless you have good river bottom land on one of the main rivers. Like we got a lot of rivers in Nebraska, but if you're not on one of the good ones, I think we're pretty screwed on that. Mule deer population is maybe bounced back a little bit over the last year or two, but it's so far down that it's hardly noticeable, in those areas. And if you're not on a great river bottom property, the deer population is pretty bad, and it's not going to get better. So I would say start looking out of state, but a lot of states are starting to limit their tags too, which I don't blame them at all, because Nebraska did the same thing, because everybody just wants to go out of state, and everybody has this grand idea that if I go to this state, I can go do this great hunt because the deer, population there is better, or it's going to be an awesome Western hunt in Western Nebraska, which is not true. Or even Missouri. Like, Missouri has a big population of deer, but they've been getting pounded by out-of-staters for however many years now, and they're starting to have the same issue. Their deer population is struggling. So I know they made a fair amount of changes this year on the out-of-state tags, which they probably needed to, because their out-of-state tags, like, when you bought them, you could get like $2 and 3 turkeys or something like that. I don't remember all the details, but I just remember when I went down there with my buddy a couple years ago, it was like crazy the amount you could get for, buying these tags. So I don't blame them one bit. They have way better habitat in Missouri, I can tell you, than Nebraska. And they do have more deer, but obviously hunting public or, is going to be different. And I don't know everything about Missouri at all. Obviously where we hunted through an outfitter, so we were on private ground, but, the habitat down there is much nicer for deer, than Nebraska is. I will say that. It's going to be an interesting year. I'm excited. I haven't gotten any trail cameras out, which is a real bummer. Like, me and Teddy really wanted to try and get out there end of June or beginning of July here, and we just haven't had the time. It's just been really hard with work. It's been really busy, and Teddy was gone for a family vacation, a week and a half ago, and then now I'm going on one, and just a lot going on at home, working on house projects, and it's just been tough. So it's really weird not having cameras running right now, because normally we do, and it's like we're at that point of the year now, like after 4th of July, it's like you see those bucks, like when you see them like early July, they're like just starting to really make like their frame. And then by like the end of this month, they really have their frame. So it's like, man, I really want to get cameras out and see if we can find some deer in the areas that we hunt, whether it's public or private ground that we hunt, and just see what's around. And just getting those deer pictures is just fun. You love seeing those pictures and, seeing what bucks are around, and if you got any big ones. We've had some big ones in the past, and it's just so exciting. Just have no idea right now. So I'm going to try and get out there. Shoot, I mean, it's probably going to be beginning of August now, which is going to be really weird. But get out there and try and get some cameras and just get them running and hope for the best and go into the fall. I mean, I don't know if we'll get to hunt much for early season. We'll see. But it'll be good. I'm excited to start shooting my bow and just get back after hunting season. I've been listening to some hunting podcasts and stuff lately, and it's just been, I'm just ready to get back into deer season. That's where I'm at. Like, my brain is switching every year. Obviously after deer season, my brain I kind of get out of it mentally. And then now, like, I'm ready to get back into it. Like, once you get past July 4th, it's like that's when I always am ready to get back into the deer season. I started looking through trail camera photos the other day. Just because I remember we had these 2 or 3 bucks in this one area last year, and they were nice bucks. I would have shot them. Don't get me wrong, but they weren't like giants. But you could tell they were still young. But it's like, okay, so I went back and looked through photos, and I noticed that they all made it through rifle season, and like had pictures of them in December. So I'm assuming they all made it where we hunt. So it got me a little excited, because I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see what these bucks look like this year. Now, this last summer or last season, I had like no buck photos in this one area until October. And partially because this area it's not a spot that really holds deer. It's a spot that it'll hold some does. Like, there'll be a few does that kind of hang out there during the summer. The bucks don't usually stay in there. They tend to be somewhere else. Must not be too far away, but just not in that area. There's not a lot of cover anywhere around the area other than that spot. It was like not even great cover there. So, but once October comes around, that's when these bucks start to move a little bit. They're moving into their kind of new areas and kind of checking around. And that's when we start to get photos of them. They start showing up. And that's when sometimes we have some really nice ones show up there. So these bucks showed up. I looked it up. I think it was like October 17th. They started showing up at night in this area. And I'm just assuming at night because those are the only time I got photos of them was at night. But, at that point of the year, it tends to be, they're mostly nocturnal still. So like October 17th is when these bucks just showed up and started getting nighttime photos of them like every couple days. And then all of a sudden it was finally like October 28th was the first daylight photo that we got, could have killed them. And then, so we got like a couple days in a row of daylight photos, like 28th, 29th, something like that. And then didn't have any photos of them until like November 12th and 13th during daytime. They came back again. So it was like you had them for like 2 days and then they kind of disappeared. And then, which I'm assuming maybe they caught an early hot doe or something like that, or they just went to another area looking for does. I don't know. And then November 12th, November 13th, these bucks showed back up again. So it's like, okay, I'm hoping that maybe they'll do the same thing this year and can kind of try and, make sure to be there at these times and see if it's going to be, that's when they're going to come back again. I don't know, but that's my hope. And they're nice, really nice deer last year. And this year they could be really, really good deer. So got excited about that. I'm just looking at pictures. So I'm just ready to get cameras out and, get ready for the season and get after it. Just that time of year, we'll be in August here and, just over 2 weeks. And I feel like once it gets to August, it's like, that's when like the switch flips and it's just like, let's go deer season. Nebraska, we open September 1st. So you have an earlier season where, a lot of other states are either October 1st or like September 15th. Nebraska's early. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to find time to be able to hunt early. I might be able to go out around here with some buddies and just go with them and maybe film or something, which is fine with me. I just love getting in a tree stand or a saddle early in the season. So I will probably try to do that. Sometimes I'll go find like a public piece, even though I know my odds of even seeing a deer or nothing. But I like to just go through the motions, especially because I mostly saddle hunt now. I don't know why I've just really enjoyed saddle hunting. I thought it was so gay before and I just made fun of it. But ever since I started doing it a couple years ago, I prefer it over being in a tree stand just because I'm more comfortable with the saddle, like being attached to the tree and just being able to move and stuff. And then obviously packing in and out way easier with the saddle. So I prefer the saddle and I like to go for a sit early season sometime just so I can go through the motion of packing up all my gear that I know I need, getting out there to the tree, getting set up and then tearing down, going through the motion once or twice like that and just remembering everything, remembering all the things you need to take, how you do it, like with your process of everything so you can, be more efficient for the rest of the season. It's nice to do that once or twice. So I'm excited to do that too. I don't really need any new gear this year for the saddle. I've got everything I need. Obviously for my new gear this year that I bought the bow. So that's kind of my big purchase this year, which obviously is a big one. But yeah, I'm just excited to start going through all that, go out and shooting the bow, get that dialed in, start shooting some longer distances, just practicing. Not that I'm going to shoot long distances at a deer, but when you shoot those longer distances, 50, 60, 70, 80 yards, it makes those 20 to 30 yard shots feel like chip shots, which is kind of what I'm going for, just trying to get myself comfortable. And, just excited to start going through the routine, kind of transition focus a little bit away from, other things, whether it's golf or basketball and whatever other things I'm doing. So just excited to get after it. I don't know how you guys are feeling. Love to hear in the comments what you guys have been doing this summer to prepare for it. I know a lot of other people do a lot more than I probably do in the summertime. Obviously some people have, properties and stuff they can put food plots in. They might be moving stands already, or making sure stands are good to go. Obviously, hopefully other people have cameras up already. I know I'm a little late to the game, but I'm sure if you got cameras going, that makes a lot of fun. So hopefully everything's going well for anybody that's listening. I'd love to hear what your summer process is, what you're going through right now, whether you're shooting your bow, doing anything, like what you're kind of, what's the word? I don't know. I can't think of it, but just kind of your process of how you kind of go through the summer. Spring and summers. Spring's interesting because there's not really much to do. Obviously, people turkey hunt, but for deer, like obviously, if you're putting in food plots in the spring, I don't know exactly what time you usually start doing that, whether it's like April or May, I'm not sure. And then obviously, some people put in like late summer plots and everything for the fall. So, but I would love to hear what you guys are working on. I know a lot of people have been doing, obviously you got the archery shoots and stuff. I missed all of those. I know there was a couple of good ones here in Nebraska that I just didn't have time to get to, and honestly just didn't even have my bow set up for it. So kind of bummed about that, but I know there was one in Burwell that one of the guys talked about, says really good one. Missed that, unfortunately. And then Shadron, there's a really good one out there that I know a buddy went out to. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a good way to get ready for the season. I'm getting ready for it. Pretty pumped for that. Yeah. The one other thing I was going to talk about, and I haven't looked into all the details on it. Again, I probably should have, but didn't. I saw Iowa ban trail cameras, I think, on public land. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I saw that, which would be another state that added that, because there's been a couple states that have done that now, and now Iowa is the newest one to do it. So, I mean, it's a tough thing to kind of, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Banning trail cameras on public land? Because I'm not necessarily against it or for it. It's a weird one. I mean, I can't really decide how I feel about it. I feel like one of the things that I find interesting is when they start banning stuff, it's like, what's the next thing? Is it really that big of a deal? I like this thought of not having them on there, because then it's kind of a fair chase for everybody. But at the same time, like, what does it matter? And you ban one thing, what's the next thing they're going to ban? That's the thing that kind of worries me, is I feel a lot of things in the, I wouldn't say the hunting industry, but like a lot of things that the states are doing, because you also have like Oregon just recently, I think they put some bill out or pass some bill in the first round of voting to ban like all hunting. It would ban all hunting. It would ban like all like owning livestock. I mean, it's a ridiculous bill. It's so stupid. And from what I've heard, it's like it's going to get shot down, or it wouldn't make it through the Supreme Court or whatever. But at the same time, it's the fact that that's even a thing that is happening. And that's just insane. But it's just like the start of like, okay, they're trying to figure out, okay, so we couldn't do this, but maybe next time we could do this and we could get this to pass and this to not be available anymore. So it's one of those slippery slopes where it's like they're trying to find the loopholes to get rid of the things that we should have the freedom to do. And so that worries me, because I know Colorado tried to do something similar to that last year, I think it was. I remember there was a big deal about that, and that ended up getting voted down. But there was a lot of people talking about it, and a lot of people, doing what they needed to do to make sure it didn't happen. But it was like the first step that they tried to do something like that. Now Oregon did the same thing. And that is, I guess that's the one other thing that makes me worry about going to a $1 state, is it's like, well, these states are like, well, the population's so bad, we're going to have to go to a $1 state, which I'm not against. I do agree that it could be an option, but I think if they're going to do that, I do think that there should be like a set number of years in place. Maybe you go to a $1 state for 3 years or a $1 state for 5 years, and then it goes back. But it's like, there needs to be a limit, because what's that for them to say like, oh, we went to a $1 state and the population's still going down, we're not going to have any hunting this year. Like, what's stopping them from doing that? And that's, a lot of the times, like, the people that are putting out these bills, they don't have a clue about hunting. They just happen to be the one that got voted into this certain specific spot, And they're the ones that are like, oh, let's just do this. I swear they just make shit up half the time. They don't have a clue, or they just have their own agenda. And this is like, okay, now I have the ability to try and do this. So it's interesting. Obviously we're living in a really weird time right now, but, that's the one thing that worries me about like the trail camera bans on public land is, what's next? What's the next thing they're going to ban? What's the next thing they're going to say? Yeah, we can't do this anymore. It shouldn't be allowed anymore. What's the next thing? I just feel like they might do something like that, get rid of something, but then they could find the next new thing that's like, oh, well, maybe this isn't fair either, so let's do that. Or maybe we just don't like this either, so we want to do that. It's tough. And I don't know. I don't know what I think about it. I'll be curious to see what other states keep doing. I know it's been a few states that have done that, but it's just, it's strange. It's, I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with it, but I'm also not against it, but it's a weird thing to kind of figure out. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think on the banning of trail cameras on public land. Obviously, Nebraska hasn't done that yet, but who's to say we're not next, So I'd be curious to know everybody's opinions on that. And just in general, like the public land, trail camera ban in any state, personally. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that's about all I got to talk about today. And I'm going out of town for vacation this week. So I just randomly was like, you know what? I really need to get a podcast done. And then hopefully get back from vacation and go get some cameras out and kind of see what's going on there and get my bow all set up and whatnot and start shooting so I can talk about that and kind of how I feel about it. So thanks for listening and watching, guys. We'll catch you next time.